minutes past 1. I guess more people will filter in, but I think let's just get started. So hi, everybody. Welcome to the Southeast Risk monthly webinar. I am not Brett, who usually hosts these meetings, standing in from today whilst he's in France. But I'd like to welcome today's speaker, Julissa Rojas Sandoval, who is an assistant research professor at the University of Connecticut. Her research focuses on community and population attributes and evaluates the responses to natural and managed ecosystems to human-caused environmental changes. She's going to talk to us today about her work in Caribbean innovations and effects of forest ecosystems, the role of both native and invasive species on forest ecosystems. If people have questions throughout the talk, if you just drop them in the chat, we'll read them out at the end. And with that, I'd like to welcome Julissa. Thank you. If you want to share your screen, we'll make sure that's working.
Yes, let me share. Here.
Great.
Okay, can you see the? Okay, perfect.
Yep, that looks great.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the introduction, Luz, and I also want to thank the organizers of the webinar for the invitation. I am very happy to have the opportunity to share with you some of the research that we have been doing, evaluating plant invasions on Caribbean islands. Oops, sorry. So we all agree that invasive species represent a threat for the conservation of native biodiversity at global scales. We also know that the introduction and expansion of alien species is expected to continue in the future. This figure shows the accumulation of alien species for different taxonomical groups, for different regions of the world. And as you can see, the patterns are very clear. The number of introductions and establishment of alien species will continue in the future for all the regions and for all the taxonomical groups. However, even when the problems associated with invasive species are a global issue, there are regions for which we have a better understanding of what is happening in terms of invasions. For example, this figure for Shaw and collaborator shows that most of the studies on biological invasion are coming from temperate regions with minimal contributions for the tropics, that is the region indicated here in red. This lack of studies for tropical regions is limiting our understanding of how native species, how native communities are responding to invasions, but it's also limiting our ability to respond to this issue. For temperate regions, most studies have shown the occurrence of negative association between native and alien species at different levels. For these temperate systems, we have a good understanding of the patterns and processes that of invasion and how invasive species are interacting with native species through different processes like competition, grazing, habitat modification. But the question that remains is, do the same pattern also apply to the tropics? Big question. For tropical forests, for tropical regions, there is this general assumption that they are more resistant to invasion than temperate regions. We do know that tropical forests are highly resilient systems, and they are highly resilient to disturbance, and they are able to regrow on basically abandoned pastures, on abandoned agricultural lands. There are also studies showing that some tropical forests are able to return to about 80% of the old growth in just a period of 20 years, which is quite amazing. However, these studies evaluating the recovery of tropical forests, they do not distinguish between the contribution of native species and alien species. So there are still unanswered questions like how are native and alien species interacting to shape contemporary tropical forests, and also what is the role that native and alien species are playing on the regeneration of tropical secondary forests. So to try to answer some of these questions, we have been using Puerto Rico and some Caribbean islands as our study case or story model. As you probably know, Puerto Rico is a textbook example that is often used to illustrate forest recovery and successional dynamics for tropical regions. During the last 70 years, the forest cover in Puerto Rico changed from less than 6% by the 1950s to more than 55% in 2024, representing the highest percentage of forest recovery for tropical regions. These changes have been the result of modifications in socioeconomic activities at local and global scales, and the recovery of these secondary forests on these islands have been led by natural succession, basically on abandoned agricultural lands and pastures with minimal active restoration. During the same period of time, many non-native species, many alien species were intentionally and accidentally introduced on the island of Puerto Rico, and as a result, today, the contemporary forests in Puerto Rico are a mixture of alien and native species. This map shows in green, you can see these points here, these are the remnant of native forests on the island, and in brown and red, we have the secondary forest with presence of alien species. And as you can see, aliens are basically occurring almost everywhere on this island, from the abandoned and degraded lands and abandoned pastures, to they are also common on early secondary and late successional forests, and they can also persist on all secondary forests across the island. So with this scenario, back in 2013, with Pedro Acevedo from the Smithsonian Institution and the support of the Smithsonian and USDA, we started a project in which we basically were asking, what are the alien species that are colonizing Puerto Rico? Our goal was to create a database with all introduced alien species occurring on Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands, covering a total of 15 islands. And for this, we started using herbarium records, botanical surveys, all the literature available, checklists, etc. And then we use a combination of expert evaluation and abundance of the species to classify all the alien species as casual, naturalized, and invasive species. So after 2 years, we published the results of this study, and we, sorry. Sorry, we found that from the more than 3,000 species occurring on Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands, about 1/3, 1,000 species are species alien for the island that have been introduced on these islands. From this success, we have about 60% are species already naturalized on these islands, already established. These are species that are reproducing actively without human intervention, and they are established small populations on this island. And from this subset, about 1/3 are species classified as invasive. These are species that are colonizing actively areas, and in some cases are representing a threat to human health and natural systems, and they are having some kind of impact. As you can see, we have casual, aliens, and naturalized species basically in all 4 groups, and the results of this study were included in the flora of Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands that now is part of the collection in the Natural Museum of Natural History, and you can access this information on the website. Then after we have this information for Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands, we asked, well, what is happening for other islands in the region? Are we finding similar patterns or different patterns for other islands? So we started collaborating with local experts and trying to collect similar information for other islands in the region. And after 2 years working with collaborators, revising herbarium collections and doing some field work, we were able to extend the database now to include 60 islands, covering a total of 33 political units in the Caribbean. And we found more than 1,500 alien species are already occurring on these islands. In this study, we include the Bahamas, Greater and Lesser Antilles, and some islands off the coast in South America. And for these 60 islands, we found a total of about 600 species are behaving as invaders. And for this group, about more than 60% are occurring on just one single political unit, one country or one territory, and more than 10% are occurring in more than 5 of these territories. So the next step was to evaluate how is this happening. So as you can see, the number of invasive species for the different islands are quite variable, but in general, we were able to detect that invaders on the Caribbean can be well predicted by a combination of biographical and economical factors. As you can see in this figure, larger islands with more economic activity represented here by larger GDPs are islands that are hosting more invasive species. In general, we detect that human activities are drivers for the spreading and establishment of invasive species on Caribbean islands. So in another, as a side project also, we were asking about the patterns of introduction of these species, the time and the reasons of introduction of these species across the Caribbean. This figure here shows the cumulative number of species as a function of the year of introduction. And as you can see, the number of species introduced on Caribbean islands have been steadily increasing during the last 200 years. And we have species originated from all continents in the world. But when we evaluate the recent introduction, we were able to detect a clean pattern here. And you can see, since the 1850, at this point here, most of the alien species introduced on Caribbean islands have been introduced as ornamentals. This introduction here is basically leading this pattern on the Caribbean. And when we evaluate the invasive species and the recent introduction for the different uses, we found that ornamentals are actually invading all the major habitats and forest types occurring on this island. So they are very successful colonizing even from disturbed areas to mature and highly conserved tropical forests on different islands on the Caribbean. So far we have a better understanding of what are the species that have been introduced on these islands and where are they coming from, the reasons of introduction. But the question that is still unanswered is how native and invaders are interacting within tropical forests, or Caribbean forests in this case. So in general, there is evidence suggesting negative interaction between alien and native species for some tropical regions in cases where invaders are able to displace and compete native species, like examples, typical examples or textbook examples coming from islands on the Pacific Islands. In the case of the Caribbean, we also have this study in which we were able to detect negative interaction between native and African grasses that are very successfully invading islands on the Caribbean. And in this study, we detect that these African grasses are able to completely disrupt the population dynamics of native species by reducing the survival, reproduction, and growth rates of these species, having a profound impact on the population growth of native species. But on the other hand, there are also positive interactions that have been suggested for tropical regions in terms of native and alien species. In the case of Puerto Rico, there are studies suggesting that some alien species can facilitate the recruitment of native and on highly disturbed areas. So, okay, sorry. So, in a paper that we recently published in Ecosphere last year, we took advantage of these unique conditions of the forest in Puerto Rico, and we tried to answer the question, how are alien and native interacting on this recording forest, and how are alien driving this? They are driving any changes in the richness and abundance of native species in this mixture of native and alien dominated forests across secondary forests in Puerto Rico. So for this, we use information recollected by the Forest Inventory and Analysis Program. As you probably know, this is a nationwide program from the USDA Forest Service that started in the 1930s, and is basically collecting information about the status of forests across America. Puerto Rico is part of this survey, and there is a total of 341 permanent plots across the island. The first Puerto Rico survey was performed in 2001, and these plots are revisited every 5 years to collect information about all the woody species that are occurring within these plots. So for this study, we use the last 4 surveys covering a period of almost 20 years. And for the species in each plot, we separate the species as native and alien. We estimate the species richness and the abundance of native and alien for each plots. Plots were also classified as forest type, considering the 3 most common types of forests described for Puerto Rico: dry forest, moss forest, and wet rainforest. And then we separate the plots in plots having only native species and plots in which we have a mix of native and alien species. So with this setup, we were able to compare native species richness and abundance for native and alien for different forest types and for different across time for different conditions. So now, what did we find? So we found about 350 woody species occurring on this plot as expected. A high number of the aliens were present in these plots. And these figures here shows the mean number of native species and the mean abundance of native species as a function of time. Here in blue circles, we have plots without aliens, and in yellow triangle, we have the plots with presence of aliens. And as you can see, the species richness and abundance of native are consistently higher in plots without aliens than in plots with aliens. This is consistent for the 4 surveys for abundance and for the species richness. This negative association between alien and native is consistent also for the different, when we analyze for the different forest types separately. We have similar pattern for dry forest, for moist forest, and for wet rest forest over time. This here is the native, again, the richness of native species, and here is the abundance of native species. We also evaluate temporal changes in the species richness, considering all the species, the total species richness and the species richness just for native species, comparing the richness between the last and the first survey. And as you can see, after 20 years, the total richness and the native richness have increased, but the recovery in plots without alien is considerably higher than the plots with presence of aliens. And we found a similar trends when we analyze this for the abundance. Now, even in more detail, we can also evaluate the relationship between the richness of native and alien species as a function of the abundance of aliens. And here, this plot shows the native richness and the richness of aliens as a function of the abundance of aliens together, and also for the three most common alien species in the region that are Leucina leucocephala, Spatula campanulata, the African tulip, and Syzygius jambos, the apple rose tree. And as you can see, in the case of native, the richness of native decreases in all the cases as the abundance of alien increases. And this in general means that the more alien, the worse for the native species. In the case of aliens, the richness of alien compared to the abundance of aliens, we see either a positive interaction or no interaction in these cases. And this could be that these alien species are responding to similar gradients of resources, or that the presence of some aliens is favoring the occurrence of other alien species. So now I wanna just mention some of the analysis that we did using the Grimm's theory to evaluate the, sorry. Yeah. Okay, I cannot see that. Okay, so now I'm gonna mention some of the results that we found using the Grimm's theory to evaluate whether native and aliens show divergence or convergence in the use of functional spaces. The Grimm's adapted strategy scheme is a conceptual framework based on disturbance and stress, and is used to classify species as competitor, rural, or stress tolerance. And we can use this approach to evaluate hypotheses like the join the local, and in this case, our hypothesis was that a successful invader are establishing in this plot is because they have similar traits than native species. But we also can evaluate an alternative hypothesis, and in this case, this hypothesis is known as the try-harder hypothesis, and in this case, successful invaders are dealing better with local conditions than native species. And this approach is very useful because it's based just in the use of three foliar traits that are leaf area, specific leaf area, and dry matter content. So, I don't know why, okay. So for when we evaluate all forests together, we found that alien and native are clustered around the competitor and stress tolerant strategy, the CS strategies. And as you can see there in this plot, basically they are occupying similar functional spaces, which is more in line with the join the local hypothesis. But when we evaluate the different forests separately, in the case of dry forests, we find that natives are clustered around the C strategy, the S strategy, sorry, and aliens are clustered about the C strategy. In this case, alien and native are diverging in the use of functional spaces, and this result are more in line with the try-harder hypothesis, suggesting that some of these groups are dealing better with some conditions than others. We also evaluate each of the scores for the C, S, and R scores as independent variables. And as you can see in this figure, for all forests together, for the moist and dry forest, in general, aliens are showing higher C scores, and native are showing higher S scores, suggesting that aliens are behaving as better competitors than native in this forest, while natives are more stress-tolerant species than aliens. So in summary, we have the invasive, in the case of Puerto Rico, alien species are having an impact on these forests. Species richness at the abundance of natives are consistently lower in plots with presence of alien compared with plots without the presence of aliens. This negative association is consistent for the 20 years analyzed in this study and for the all forest type that we analyzed. And this may suggest that aliens can suppress the diversity of native species rather than facilitate the recruitment and the recovery of these native species that have been suggested in the past. We also show that the green schemes provide a practical approach for evaluating the interaction between native and alien species, and that in this case, it's important to take into consideration the context when we perform this kind of analysis. Different strategies can be occurring in different forest types. We also were able to indicate that invaders have the potential to severely alter the composition of tropical forests across different successional stages and may have long-term impacts on the abundance and richness of native species on these islands. So after this, all this year working on Caribbean islands, now I want just to try to summarize what have we learned in general from all these studies. We have that the historical factors related to the type, intensity, and frequency of human-mediated introduction of alien species have been influenced the composition of both native and alien communities during the last 200 years. It's clear that in this region, ornamentals are leading the way. Alien species that have been introduced as ornamentals are the group that are representing the biggest problems on these islands right now. We also have that invasive species are successfully invading all major habitats across the Caribbean, and these invaders are exacerbating conservation issues and threatening the native biodiversity of these unique islands. We also have learned that policies and biosecurity protocols to prevent and control planned invasions on these islands are really urgent for this region. Many islands in the Caribbean do not have lists of invasive species. Many of these islands don't have the resources to compile lists of invasive species, and even less to have lists for the recommendations of control or management of certain species. In general, there is a lack of resources in the region to implement policies to control invasive species. So the development of tools to identify species with the highest risk of invasion are really needed for these for Caribbean islands. So as a way to try to facilitate this information, we are proposing to use the approach of machine learning, artificial intelligence. This is part of our ongoing project, and today I'm gonna just mention some preliminary results. But the idea, this is the representation of this approach. The idea is that we start with a group of species for which we know the invasion status, we know if they are invasive, naturalized or not. And for that species, we compile information for different traits that we think can provide information to separate between a species behavior as invaders or not. And basically we use that trait, data for traits as an input data to train the machine learning models. And once the models are trained, we can use that information to make predictions, for example, to predict the rate of invasions or identify the traits that are more associated to invasion transition. As a proof of concept, we are using these machine learning models in the dataset for the 15 Caribbean islands in Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands that I mentioned earlier in the presentation. And for this island, we compiled a total of 26 different traits related to history of introduction, economic uses, habitats that they are using, and biological and ecological traits specific for the species. We are using this information to train different machine learning algorithms to try to make predictions about the invasion success and to identify traits that are associated with the invasion transition. This is just to illustrate one of the models that we are already training that are random forests, and basically to illustrate the separation that we can achieve between non-invasive and invasive species. And once the model is trained, we can use this model to try to estimate probability of future invasions. And in this case, we are using a machine learning trained algorithm to estimate the probability of invasion of a set of 225 species that we know that are already successful invaders on other islands in the Caribbean, but are not yet present in Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands. And here you can see the ranking of the probabilities for these 225 species. And this section here represents the species with the highest risk of becoming invasive, if ever introduced on Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. And this is just to illustrate that this is some promising tool for the prediction of invasion success and invasion risk. It's a very inexpensive protocol that is easy to apply, and it's a computational method that in which we are removing any kind of human bias that could be possible. So next step, we are trying to improve the number of the probabilities and increase the number of models that we are using to try to provide a tool that can be used for different people to try to identify the species that will be more problematic if ever reach one of the islands. I would also mention that now I'm moving beyond the Caribbean, and we started to implement all this knowledge that I probably achieved after of these many years working across the Caribbean. And we are now collecting similar information, but now for Central America. We started what we call the FINCA project, that is the flora introduced and naturalized in Central America. This year we published the result for the first survey for the region, presenting the first list of introduced and naturalized plant species for Central America. And yeah, we are very excited about this. We are looking forward to continue expanding our collaboration and try to evaluate different patterns of invasion across the region, and also trying to identify the drivers for naturalization and invasion in Central America. And just to finish, I also want to mention that I have been collaborating with the CAVI Invasive Species Compendium. We have been using all the information that we have been compiling across over these years, and we have been compiling this kind of data sheets in which we can find detailed information about description of the species, summary of the introduction, dispersion, reasons of introduction on these islands. So far, we have been able to compile more than 500 data sheets for plants that are behaving as invaders across Caribbean islands. And this is a platform that is open access. So if you go to the Caribbean Invasive Species Project within the Invasive Species Compendium, you can find all this information available there. So yeah, I'm gonna stop here and just thanks all my collaborators and all the institutions that have been supported my research for all these years. And thank you very much for the invitation again, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for that very fascinating talk. If anybody has any questions, drop them in the chat and we'll read them out. In the meantime, I did have a couple of questions. So looking back to the work that you presented about forest regeneration and invasive species, I was wondering, how does the presence or prevalence indeed of those invasive species impact the regenerative carbon potential of those forests? Is there any relationship, or do you know if there's any relationship? Can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Sorry,
Hello.
am I coming through?
Now, yes.
Okay, sorry. Sorry. Well, in case you didn't get any of that, thank you very much for that fascinating chat. Very, very interesting stuff, very broad topic. Can you still hear me? The computer's
Yes,
freaking.
I can.
Okay,
Yes,
good,
I
great.
hear.
I was just saying, if anybody has a question, please drop them in the chat. But in the meantime, I did have a couple of questions. So firstly, to go back to your work on forest regeneration in Puerto Rico, I was wondering if you knew of or had researched any relationship between the presence or indeed prevalence of invasives and the regenerative carbon potential. I.e., does the presence of invasive species inhibit the long-term carbon potential of that forest?
Yeah, basically what is happening in these plots that we were able to identify is that in the cases where you have presence of aliens, they are really there. So the plots that we are calling plots with presence of aliens are plots that are basically dominated by these alien species. So they are basically covering most of the area, and we don't know if they are directly competing for the same resources, or we don't know if they are what is the action, the processes that are happening there. But we know that basically they are covering the majority of the area, and basically they are inhibiting the regeneration of the native species. Basically, that is a battle for space. Basically, they are more common, and therefore they are inhibiting the recruitment of native species on these areas. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, very interesting. We've got a couple of questions in the chat here. I'm going to read them out. Brian's got a fairly long one. I'll do my best to summarize it. Brian was curious about the different strategies in the different environments and whether the same invasive species might adopt different strategies in different forest types, and whether the invasive plants exhibited phenotypic plasticity across those habitats, assuming that some invasive species occur in those different forest types, and maybe they don't, and that I understood it correctly, and that maybe he didn't.
Yeah, basically it's interesting because in Puerto Rico, what happened is that we have species that are specialized in the different forests that they are colonizing. In the case of dry forest, that is the forest where we find these differences between native and aliens. Basically, the dry forests are colonized, are embedded by Fabaceae trees. These are trees that are neutron fixing species that are able to modify the conditions the soil. They are also very successful colonizing the very poor soils. So in terms of the strategy, basically they are using different strategies, and they are very successful doing the colonization during the first stages of succession, and in conditions that native species are not able to start the colonization of that forest types. Yeah.
Right. Deb Stone asked whether there's a paper regarding the machine learning paper stuff yet, or whether it's still in the works.
It's still in the works. Yeah, we are working on that. We have the result for machine learning for the random forest and for 2 additional algorithms, but one of our collaborators want to include neural networks and other more sophisticated algorithms. So we are in the process of training the the algorithms and try to replicate the same results using different models to see if the results are consistent, basically.
So watch this space.
That is it's coming soon.
Brittany asked, what role, if any, does the tourism industry play in the spread of invasive species in Puerto Rico?
It's a huge role. As you see, I mentioned most of the invasive species have been introduced as ornamentals, and most of those ornamentals are, to do for landscaping in these hotels and resorts and things like that. So yeah, it's a huge impact. There are a project that one professor for the West Indies University is leading, and they are showing that most of the introductions for alien species as ornamental from different countries are go directly to the hotels. Don't even it's not that a Home Depot or a nurseries are importing that. No, the hotels directly are importing these plants and they are using these plants in the gardens, and from the gardens they can escape very easily. The management that they do, these species sooner or later are going to escape from the lawns areas and gardens and the resorts. Yeah.
Perfect. I did have one other question. You briefly mentioned the African grasses in these cactus-dominated landscapes. I used to live in Arizona, and we saw a lot of increase in wildfires caused by these African grasses in providing accelerant in habitats that wouldn't usually have it. Are you seeing increases in wildfires in the Caribbean?
Not yet, because the Caribbean is very humid. We have the hurricane seasons and it's still very humid, but I'm totally sure that with climate change, this is going to happen sooner or later, because during the dry season, basically the area dominated by these megathyrsus are ready to get on fire sooner or later. So not yet, but I'm totally sure that it's a problem that we are going to have in the near future.
Great. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I'd like to thank Julissa again for a fascinating talk, and we'll see everybody next month for next month's meeting.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and you have my contact information, so anyone can questions or want to share some information, I'm very happy to get in contact with you, and thank you very much again for the invitation.
Thank you.